The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
It's time for another episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by Florida Beer Blog and Flintstone Media. This is Dave, your host and author. If you have not listened to part one of our interview with Dan Rogers at Frazier Creek, Brewing and Distilling in Stuart, Florida, I recommend that you pause this episode, go back to our previous episode, because that'll give you all the basic information on who he is, where we are, and what we're going to be talking about. But if you have listened to part one, welcome to part two. Obviously, we're going to be speaking to Dan a little bit more, talking about the distilling side of things, because if you know anything about brewing and distilling here in the state of Florida, there's a lot of differences between the two. And I'm not talking about the actual making of the beer / spirit. I'm talking about all the legal fun stuff. So, and I will say this about Dan. He's making some spirits that I have never seen made before in the United States. I'm sure people have, but we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. Obviously, the basics are there, the gin and the vodka, and I don't know, blah, 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 blah. But there's also some fun stuff, so definitely check this out. This is part two of our interview with Dan Rogers, Brewmaster and head distiller at Frazier Creek Brewing and Distilling in Stuart. Enjoy. Awesome. And then with the beers, you've got a very large tap list. Is it difficult to keep it full and fresh at the same time?
Yes and no. I will take some beers like our Belgian triple, and I'll add I'll take a keg and I'll add some Michigan tart cherry juice to it. So it's a cherry triple, and people love it.
Yeah, I know that's one of the ones that I had my eyes on.
So it to me, I'm able to make two beers out of one. And a lot of things I do that with our Confusion Corner. I've added every flavor you can imagine to it. I mean, the blueberry does real well, and strawberry. It's just, do I like making those?
There's a difference between do you like making them and are they profitable?
Are they popular? That's the key. It's people are drinking them, they love them, they come back and they want it, and so yeah, I make them. And that's what gives us that nice big spectrum of beer you see out there. In the past, taking our Pilsner, put about 30 green tea bags in there, and made a green tea lager. And it went over great. It's just switch it up now and then, put something a little different on.
What kind of influence Stuart, Martin County had on the tap list? What are the beers that
on
they
the tap
tend
list?
to really like?
That's 100%. And I know I didn't want to have 5-6 beers on tap. I wanted a lot of different ones. And with this small little system we have here, we can do that. And then taking some beers and flavoring them up, just making different stuff. It gives you a nice selection to choose from. I mean, I probably made 200 different kind of beer here, doing it that way. But
now, what size system do you have?
Pardon?
What size system do you have?
It's a 15 barrel.
That's not bad.
No, and I can, so I can do 10 barrel batches if I have to. And over 30 years plus I've been brewing. I've made every beer style there is. I've made everything.
Are there beer styles that just don't hit here in Stuart? Obviously the perennial favorite for that question is the Rauch beer, which brewers tend to like, and that's about it.
I think everything here sells well. I thought and starting up like all the really light beers and light cold and carbonated would sell. But I see they like the porter, they like the Russian stouts. I just put a barley wine on tap, so that's big.
That's not messing around. Yeah.
They're all selling. They're all moving.
Have you seen a lot of changes since you were in Vegas in the 90s, Central Michigan, and then down here to the Treasure Coast of Florida? Have you seen a lot of trends and styles change either with the location or with the times?
Yeah, IPA is still king. You have to have IPAs. You have to have different ones too. Hazy IPAs are still hanging in there, but IPA is king. The hazies, I think, are tailing off a bit. Double IPA is real popular, so the IPAs you have to have.
And I've noticed that you've got some beers on tap that had a very strong heyday, and I feel like it's waned a little bit. Like you've got a Berliner on tap.
Yeah.
And I remember, 7-8 years ago, everybody had a Berliner on tap.
Right.
And now there's few and far between.
Yeah. The trends that, it goes through trends. Seems we're in a lull right now. I don't know what really is trending other than IPA is still king.
Which is interesting.
Lagers are doing well.
I've heard the big thing is low ABV.
Yeah.
Which is funny because so many people that go to beer festivals, the brewers have told me sometimes they don't even care what style it is. They're looking for the highest numbers they possibly can get.
Yeah. Our red ale is like that Energizer bunny rabbit, just keeps on going. And I've been making that beer 33 years, and it's always been a good seller. Does it sell a lot? No, but it's always one that constantly sells at a steady pace. Because the people that come in that aren't hop heads, they want a nice malty beer, they love it. And it's, again, easy to make. And the red ale is, and it's been popular with us. It's done really well.
And do you get a lot of people that are, I would say, are most of your clients that are coming in not hop heads? They're just looking for a good time?
We get everybody in. It surprises me. Now I'll make some stronger beers like the Belgian Triple, which I can make a big batch and keg it up, and it ages well. That's one beer that really doesn't get long in the tooth. It just ages well because of the gravity and the yeast strain in it, things like that. Which I'm surprised some styles, like a Belgian wit beer, they just don't move. And I won a gold medal back in 2003 for Belgian wit at GABF, and they were kind of popular. Pierre Celis had his wit beer, and Hoegaarden, that style. But it's one I wish would sell well in the U.S. It just doesn't. And people want like other kind of wheat beers, something about that yeast strain. But I love a good Belgian white, or wit beer.
I love them. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, they're fans. I was so happy when Allagash was coming back down to Florida. And it's amazing how many people I know that like it. And if you're not interested, you just say Blue Moon. And everybody seems to have tried Blue Moon and like Blue Moon.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a mass-produced wit, but it is a wit.
Yes.
And so I find that interesting to hear that even that is starting to decline a little bit.
I was fortunate back when I was in Michigan at Michigan Brewing Company to work with Pierre Celis. He had the brewery in Texas, Celis Brewery, and he brought back Hoegaarden in, Europe, got that going back in the 50s, 60s. So I learned from the guy that originated or brought it back. And I learned a lot. That was like probably the only brewer I trained under for a bit, and which it paid off. In 2003, I won that gold medal for it at GABF. So, but tough beer to make or to break the market, so to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It takes a lot of marketing. When you come out with a beer, you better put a lot of marketing behind it. To do a brewery is difficult in itself, but you can have good beer, you can have great beer, but if you're not great at marketing beer, you ain't going to make it.
And would you say that the flip side is possible in that you've got a brewery that is really great at marketing, but the beer itself, not the greatest?
Yeah, it's...
Without naming names, have you seen that?
Yes. And they're out there, and they are great at marketing, and you got to be great at marketing. Kind of like the auto industry. There's a lot of cars that suck that you want to drive, but you see the commercials and everything on there, and you're like, I wouldn't want that thing, but it's marketing. And
are there any trends in the craft beer industry that you wish would make a comeback? Are there any beers that you have the recipe for, you've made them before, you're good at them, but people just aren't going to ask for them because they don't know what they're missing?
Yeah, I would say definitely that Belgian white, Belgian wit beer. There's English styles. I go to England a lot. I love English beer, cask ales. I like that culture. I like what they do, but you can't serve them here in the U.S. We want our beer cold.
Like the mild.
Yeah,
Many, many years. In fact, probably, pre-COVID, there was a place in St. Pete, and the owner loved the English mild.
Yeah.
They always wanted it on tap. They wanted it to be their signature. And it's sad that it hasn't caught on.
And England, they have a bitter. They just call beer a bitter, and you can't say bitter here in the U.S. It won't sell. People are like, bitter, that's going to taste bad. England, that's what they call that style. It's just an English bitter, and like a mild, English mild. They have those terms for their beer, but to make it here in the U.S., they're great beers, low ABV, so you can drink a lot. You can't call them bitter, anything. I used to make them, and I just call it English summer ale. That would sell. Can't say bitter to anyone in the U.S. They won't go for it.
Interesting.
Just the term we use bitter for and what they do.
Yeah, it's marketing.
That's marketing.
It's all back to marketing. How about the spirit side of things? What kind of spirits have you been?
Brown water is king. Like IPA is king in beer. Brown water is king in spirits. So that's whiskey. Brown water is whiskey.
Now, is that a trending thing? Because I've noticed whiskey seems to have a resurgence. Mostly bourbon has just exploded. And I don't remember it ever being this big before.
Yes, bourbon is king. It's the IPAs of spirits. And there's a new American style spirit out now, American single malt. And they just finalized the style of it this past December, and they came out. It's got to be 100% barley. Could be put in a used barrel. I'll use oak barrel, whether oak or whatever. It can be put in a used barrel. Doesn't have to be new charred oak. So that's a nice style. It's kind of our version of Scotch.
So when you say single malt, that's usually Scotch is what I'm thinking. So,
So it has to be all barley, and which is great. It allows. Barrels are expensive. Buy a new one, they're expensive. Now, when you get a used one, $50, $80, $90, $100, that's nothing. Put a whiskey in there and let it age a bit, and it's great. Cost saving there. So, that's a nice style coming out now. I've been making those. Very easy to make. But my favorite is bourbon. I like making bourbon. I like, right now our bourbon is wheated bourbon or sweet. I like high rise. I do a rye bourbon. I'll make some here. I'll make some soon. But
do you usually drink them neat yourself, or do you cocktail it up?
Yeah, I really don't like bourbon in cocktails. Maybe there's a few, but
I definitely say that because the old fashioned is.
Yeah,
it used to be the Moscow Mule a few years ago, but now it's the old fashioned.
Old fashions are good, and so I like those. I'll have those once in a while, and I make all our other liqueurs, so to say. So, I'll make a version of Campari. and I just made a chartreuse and things like that. So I'm doing a bunch of different liqueurs so we can make more cocktails in the bar. And that's what the bartenders need. They need that ammo. If you just got one, just bourbon or vodka, there's not a lot you can do with it. You have to have all these other liqueurs that they can make these cocktails with. So that's key.
I've never, ever seen a distillery in the United States that makes a chartreuse.
Yep.
That's amazing.
I just came out with it. I'll give you a taste of it.
I'm definitely going to need that. Has anybody started to ask about using beer in the cocktail recipes? Because I've noticed some places like to dabble that. Or do you even prefer that to happen? Or do you want to keep them separate? The beer program is the beer program. The spirits program is the spirits program. Never shall they meet.
I guess they can if, an Irish car bomb, things like that. I wouldn't care. It's like if it's fun but as far as blending a bunch of different stuff, no, it's no, I don't like doing that. If the bartenders want a certain thing, I'll make it for them. And any kind of syrup, things like that. I make our own grenadine. You name it, I've made it. So,
interesting. Going back to the Berliner then, have you ever done or would you think of doing the syrups as in a traditional presentation of a Berliner?
For our Berliner Weiss, we have the raspberry and woodruff. And I had a mango or passion fruit, but I'll get the syrups in so they can do the flavored Berliner Weiss.
That's awesome. So since you've been in operation for 3 years, since you've been brewing and distilling here for 3 years, where's the next step? What are the next things that you want to try to distill or try to brew? Or are you keeping up with everything that the man is going in and you are on your own kind of satisfied?
Well, I want to put more whiskey away.
Okay.
And, do like 100% rye malt whiskey. I want to make more potato vodka. That's one of my favorite things to make. I like potato vodka, and I use 100% potato.
Do you actually get a potato in?
I use flaked potato, and their potatoes are very hard to get now. They're very expensive.
Why?
Especially a flaked potato, because during the pandemic, everything got shut down. Potato growers were screwed. They were burying their potatoes. They couldn't sell them. The fast food markets, closed up. Fast food stores closed up. Restaurants were closing up. They got screwed and hit hard. And a lot of them didn't go back into business. Flaked potatoes are difficult to get. Where before I could get them from the East Coast, West Coast, anywhere. Michigan, I could get flaked potatoes. And now it's very difficult to get. So I got to buy, 2,000 pounds. Which I would anyways to make a big batch, but it's just, they're difficult to get. And shipping kills you. The worst thing right now is shipping. Anything I order, I get killed on shipping. I just ordered some bottles today, put spirits in. You know what doubled the price? Was the shipping.
That's insane.
I can find a bottle for a spirit bottle, $1.50, and you get 30, 40, 50 cases. Look at the shipping. You just doubled now I'm at $3 a bottle. It's crazy. Shipping's crazy.
Is that because of tariffs or is that just because of
that's just because fuel costs and everything else.
Gotcha. That makes
And then,
sense.
same with going back to the potatoes. For the farmers, it's fuel costs, fertilizer costs, running their tractors, all that. Fuel costs just doubled the price of all that stuff. And some farmers are like, screw it, I'm not planting potatoes anymore. But that pandemic just wiped it out.
That's
and
amazing.
Shipping on anything went sky high. That's why I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, because I get free shipping. I get something from Amazon come in here every day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
have to.
That makes sense.
And the main thing is free shipping. If I'll look on Amazon before I go anywhere else, because I know I could most likely get free shipping.
Well, with costs going up and, the shortages starting to appear with the distilling and brewing industries, obviously we've had a lot of closures in Florida. In fact, last year, I think there were more closures than there were openings of craft breweries. Do you see things hopefully leveling off soon, or do you see a little bit more of a decline still coming in the coming years?
Yeah, the economy and cost of food going up, things like that, cost of everything going up. You know, people going out for their weekly pint or, 3 times a week. Some people come, it's just they're going to go to the pub and get their pint. Is that $9 dozen eggs going to stop them from getting their extra pint? It's the cost of living is going up. Everything's in insurance, everything. It's just so people got to cut back.
Interesting. So yeah, the costs are going up and people are cutting back.
When you do get something and they're nice to you, it's almost like it wants to make you cry. It's like, I can't believe they did this for me. We're nice. Something recently happened. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was just amazed that they were like, don't worry about that. We'll send it to you anyway. So,
oh, wow.
I was like, wow, that's how things used to be, and I got to run this brewery tight on a budget. I can't stock up on stuff. I got to buy as needed. So where I probably don't get a price break on buying volume. The brewery I was at up north, I had 2 50,000-pound silos,
mm-hmm.
and those got filled like every week. So I was buying volume.
Yeah.
And I got great price on the malt and great price on delivery. Nowadays, you can't get free shipping on stuff like that. That's what's killing everybody. That's what's killing the beer industry, is that cost is going up. And those little fixed costs and things like that you used to get for nothing, no more. I used to get malt delivered 32 cents a pound.
Oh, wow.
Delivered in those silos. And then they quit the free delivery and went up to 40 cents a pound. Well, that's like $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
When you do that third grade math, and that's what, is impacting a lot of these breweries. But I got to run everything lean and mean here. Yeah. I can't buy bulk. I got to buy as needed and keep our inventory low as I need things. Yeah. And that's tough. It raises the cost of our product, but I don't want a $12 pint of beer here. We're going to keep our costs at regular, cost customers should expect,
Yeah.
and I'll say, yeast is staying the same. Yeast is getting better. Hops are getting better. Malt, not so much.
Gotcha. Interesting.
You gotta, it's tough. It's because of the farmers,
mm-hmm.
fertilizer, shipping, all that. Malt is tough. And those fields are just, they're not, I don't know how they do their crop rotation, things like that. Malt is getting worse, product-wise, quality-wise.
Interesting.
Hops are good, even better, different varieties coming out, and yeast is spectacular. They're coming out with new, different stuff that can do different things. So those two things are good. Malt, not so
interesting. Do you think there's going to be more of a focus of trying to grow malt? Because I know that there are places that are trying to grow malt locally here in the state of Florida.
Yeah. Do
you think there's going to be more of a focus on that? And should there
some
be?
People are doing it. I've been getting stuff from local small maltsters, and their cost is going to be high. It's try them out. If they got a good product, try them out. I like to support them, so I will buy malt from these smaller maltsters and local guys. And for our bourbon, I use Florida corn and I use Florida wheat. Now I'm putting some of that wheat into some of our beers, so I got a line on that. And I like it. Very good product. And I like to advertise that we're using Florida product. Barley is, that's a northern grain, grown in northern climates. And hops aren't really from this area, but I've been getting corn and wheat. So
that's awesome. And it sounds like you continue to make a product that you are still proud of.
Yes.
And that people are proud of coming in and enjoying. So that is good to hear. So thank you so much for your time. I definitely want to try that chartreuse because that is amazing.
I'll get you some.
And that is it for our time in Stewart at Frazier Creek Brewing and Distilling. We've got plenty of other stuff coming up, I promise you. But for right now, let's enjoy this. If you want to know when our next episode of the Florida Beer Podcast is coming out, and hopefully it's not going to be too much longer, the best thing to do is to follow us on social media. We're really focusing on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all those great places. Social media is kind of changing a little bit, so kind of bear with us. We're on Threads, and there's some other places that you might be able to see some stuff, but really that's kind of where we're focusing. You can also follow us on FloridaBeerBlog.com, FloridaBeerPodcast.com. You want to tell us who you are and what you should be doing, or if you're a brewery or somebody adjacent who wants to come on the show, reach out to us at FloridaBeerBlog@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on a podcasting app, that's actually probably the best thing to do because you can always follow us and subscribe, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, iHeart, any of the smart speakers. You can follow us there easily, and I'll let you know when those next episodes are out. When you head to any of those places, you will see that we are operated by the fine folks at Flintstone Media. If you are a business or a private person who wants to create a podcast because there's something about you that you want to get out into the world, Flintstone Media are the people you need to work with. They will give you everything that you need to make your podcast a success. And the best place to do that is to go to flintstonemedia.com and reach out to Jemmy and the team. Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Pekala. Executive producer for Flintstone Media and Grand Haipupa is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author. We will see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Florida Beer Podcast. Drink Florida Craft.